Good day, everyone. Welcome to Deca Universe. Today we are beginning Part 8 of What If Harem Deku Watches Multiverse. The fanfiction is created by Giovanni Polder on Wattpad. Now, let's begin. So what do we want to watch? I love hearing all of you, but if we can't find a universe to agree on, this could go on for hours. Truth said, seeing that they were split down the middle. Half wanted to see Izuku as a wild man. Rumi came up with the idea, and the thought of a very muscle man in the woods sounded rather cool and hot to half of the people there. Then was the idea that from Kaminari of a badass Izuku that cared very little, but had swords and was able to cut down his enemies in the blink of an eye. The thought of a sword-carrying badass that tore through anyone was also very cool and appealing for the other half. But nobody was able to agree to one show. How about we just let truth decide at random again? This way we don't argue or kill each other. Izuku said as he looked over at you and Namiri, who now sat neatly in their chair, but only seconds ago both stood glaring at each other in the face while pressing their bub together. Wonderful idea, Izuku. This way we can just enjoy the sight of my baby boy being cool without all the yelling. Inko said with a big smile on her face. This alone was able to bring peace into the room. That was until Monoma woke up again. What happened? He said very groggily as he rubbed his chin where Izuku connected. Although it hurt, nothing was broken by the power of truth. Oh, you got your but handed to you like big time. Who jumped in and helped that trash? Could you please not speak about my son like that? Inko said with a fake smile and a devilish aura behind her. Now Monoma wanted to talk back and insult Inko, but seeing the murderous aura from All Might in his buff form. AFO fully powered up with random quirks. Bakugo with explosions popping from his hands. Mitsuki cracking her knuckles. Every single woman that had feelings for Izuku giving a death glare to Monoma. Many others with their own glare at Monoma. Truth with the pure wrath of the gods behind him. Koda and Eri both looking very mad at him, and the worst of them all, Izuku looking him right in the eyes, with all of them having a scary aura behind him, all focused on one blonde, one be loudmouth. This was nearly enough for Monoma to pee himself. He would have peed himself, but when Izuku knocked him out, he had already peed himself. It was silent for a little, while seeing Monoma just nodded, far too scared to speak, believing his voice would betray him. Now let's get to watching right. Yeah, let's go. This is going to be manly. Some called out to bring the exciting vibe back into the watching area instead of the killer aura. As Truth snapped his fingers, the screen started playing. We see an older-looking Izuku sitting in front of desk. He was working on paperwork. Izuku had a very nice-looking suit. It was clear that Izuku was in great shape by the looks of his white shirt. His forearms were very muscular as he filled the paperwork. His hands were filled with rings on each finger. Looking good, Izuku, Mitsuki said, with Kirishima adding on. Manly as heck. I mean, not that big of a fan of all the bling, but overall I do like the look. Rumi said honestly. She wasn't a fan of people that like flashy and irritating about that whole SHD. A knock on the door brought his face out of the paperwork. Enter, Izuku said, his voice far deeper than his younger version. In came a very good-looking woman. Ah, Albedo, what is it? He said. Albedo was an impeccable beauty. Albedo is a woman with lustrous jet black hair and the face of a goddess. She has golden irises and vertically split pupils. On her left and right temples are two thick horns protruding crookedly, and on her waist are a pair of black angel wings. Albedo wears a pure white dress with silky gloves covering her slender hands and a golden spiderweb necklace that covers her shoulders and chest. Oh wow, she is a beauty. Who is she? Pixie Bob said, confused about who she was. Oh, she is Albedo. She had known Izuku shortly after he moved from his childhood home. She fell madly in love with him and is now sort of his bodyguard and lover. Truth said, with him already enjoying the faces of the girls when he said lover. Hello, Izuku-sama. There are two guests for you at the reception downstairs. It's Nizu and All Might. Should we let them up? Yes, is that all? No, sir, we also have a problem in the south. What shall we do about it? Send the Pleiades, also contact the local guardian. They should be informed. Izuku told Albedo as she nodded and walked out to go get Nizu and All Might. What are the Pleiades? And the local guardian? Oh well, Izuku is like a powerful vigilante, but he himself only comes out once every couple of weeks or so. But he uses some sort of sidekicks like the Pleiades, which are 6 women who are dressed up in maid outfits that do whatever Izuku tells them. And the local guardians are 7 people that protect an area. Each of them holds its own location for Izuku. It's much like how a certain hero has an agency, they are the same. Izuku placed his paperwork to the side, neatly stacked into a pile. He sat back in his chair and looked at the time. It was just over 5. He got up and walked toward his window bar. It was a small box made out of oak wood. One part of it had a freezer part that held ice cubes. Then on the bottom, it held a smoker chamber, as Izuku was a fan of the soft smell and taste of wood in his drinks. It held around 8 glasses and 1 very expensive whiskey. He poured himself one with a couple of ice cubes just when Nizu and All Might walked in with Albedo in front. "A son of my own taste," AFO said as he himself loved a good glass of whiskey himself. "Perhaps back home I can give you something," AFO added, thinking back to his own large and very expensive whiskey collection that at the moment was now just collecting dust. "Wait, you the legendary villain All for One wants to make his son enter an old villain compound, not fully knowing what could be in there for booze," Aizawa said with AFO nodding. "I mean, it's not like it's just any booze or that I put it in the middle of a well-protected villain hideout. It should just be a 20-minute trip, which could be shorter if I give him some fun quirks," AFO said as if it would be the same as giving Izuku a comic book. "Welcome Nizu and All Might to Nezra Trading Company. What can I do for both of you? Do you want a drink?" Izuku said with a friendly smile as both entered. "No thank you, I can't drink." All Might said in a small version. Nizu also declined Izuku, so now Izuku was the only one to have a drink. "Albedo, you can go home early," he said as he walked past her and gave her a kiss. One that Albedo tried deepening the kiss by GRPNG Izuku, but a small smack on her hand and shaking his head. He whispered into her ear, "I'm going to punish you back home, so go quickly and wait. Be a good little girl, and you might get a reward," he said with a kiss on her ear, making her hip wings flutter like mad. She excused herself and nearly ran out of the room toward her and Izuku's shared home. "Lucky dashed," were the words that many of the women muttered as they heard what Izuku said. They may not all have the dirty talking K&K, but what if it would bring Izuku into this state? They would be down to do whatever he wanted. The single straight guys were rather jealous of Izuku, seeing how hot that lady was and how apparently thirsty she was for him. They would love to take his place. So, Izuku, you're becoming such a lady killer in your old age," Mitsuki said with Todoroki looking at her and then at Izuku. "Wait, so when Midoriya gets old he will start killing women?" This received a loud facepalm from his siblings. "Sorry for that, but what can I do for you?" Izuku said as he sat back down in front of Nizu and All Might. "Yes, this does include you. We wanted to get the vigilantly Ain's old gown to become a hero." Izuku didn't even react. He did wonder how Nizu found out, but he did expect that Nizu would be the one to find out. "I'm not sure if that even involves me. I'm pretty sure I'm not Ain's old gown. I feel I have a little more meat on my bones," Izuku said with a laugh, seemingly dismissing Nizu's statement. "While that may be the case, seeing that Ain's is a skeleton, but Ain's has more than enough power to alter his appearance," Nizu said. "Well, about his power, do you really think it would be smart to go after a powerful vigilantly with nothing more than a chimera and a retired pro, or did you believe that skeletons are friendly to each other?" Izuku joked, making All Might laugh. The jokes Izuku made received laughs from everyone that was viewing. Emi looked like she was nearly peeing herself with how hard she was laughing at the rather mad jokes. It was just perfectly her humor. Inko herself was also laughing. She herself called Toshi a skeleton more than once. She didn't mind how he looked, but she did enjoy the healthy-looking Might more. Was better for cuddles. Much like Izuku, as he had grown more muscles over the months. "Do not fret, we're not here for a fight. We have an offer for Ain's," Toshinori said, trying to give off a friendly vibe. "Well, let's so hypothetically I am Ain's. What would the offer be?" Nizo laughed. "Well, in this hypothetical, the offer would be for him and his group to become heroes." "Why would I take the offer if I was Ain's? Money is not a real problem for me, as you can see. So why? I mean, from the looks of it, becoming a hero doesn't have that many real advantages, right? He is in the room with two heroes who apparently know his secret, and he isn't even sweating a little bit. Well, it is Izuku, so he might just do it for the chance of being a hero. It's kind of DQ-ish to be a hero for being a hero. Achiko said with Inko, giving a nod as the girls began giggling. Izuku just leaned back in his chair with a smile on his face. He might not have known them for long, but they have figured him out pretty well most of him. Nizu smiled, already expecting this exact question. Well, let's see, shall we? Nizu said as he took out his notepad. He cleared his throat. Your relationship with Momo Yairozu, Achiko Uraraka, and Itsuka Kendo would able to become public without having the fear of Ain's becoming known. You and your vigilante companions could do their work both day and night when you're not busy with the business, of course. You would have no other heroes chasing you in hopes of capturing you. Good enough, or do you require some more reasons? Nizu said with Izuku letting out a soundless chuckle. And Izuku got hella babes, Kaminari said, totally sarcastic about the whole thing. To be honest, him having only 4 total babes that have 2 hots for him was kind of low from what they have been seeing. Like Kamen, they had a verse where everyone most likely had the hots for Izuku. He did fully deserve the love. And if it was up to Kaminari, he was going to give that green-haired Casanova as much bro love as was possible without it being weird. How about I try and contact Ain's and set up a meeting between you all? I do have a lot of contacts, but I am pretty sure it's going to be on short notice. That is exactable. I do hope you are ready for that meeting rather soon, Ain's. Oh, my apologies, Midoriya, Nizu said as he got up and walked out with all might. Izuku just laughed alone. This was very amusing for him. Nizu now was cackling himself. In his eyes, Izuku was playing it perfectly. While this Nizu and All Might have the idea that Izuku is this Ain's, but they most likely had no proof, he still the entire talk gave no concrete evidence that Izuku was Ain's. A very smart and skilled play on Izuku's part. He looked at his watch and saw that the talk took around 20 minutes. He got up and walked out. He was done for today. He had some work at home to do. It took him 20 minutes himself to get home. As he got out of his own car, he noticed the paper on his door. It was clearly the writing style of Achiko. Hello, Izuku-kun. We noticed you send Albedo home early and told her she was deserving of some punishment. So we took point and we are punishing her right now. But we all have been very bad girls, and we also need some punishment. Please come to the bedroom quickly. Loves your salty machi. The end had 3 big red lip prints on the paper, making Izuku nearly rip off his shirt as he entered his house. Daddy's home. He called out with the screen going black with a very loud for Momo. Momo and Achiko were both beyond red. First of Achiko's dirty talk was just thrown out in the open in front of everyone, guessing by the laugh she heard. None of the laughs were mean. No one was laughing at them. They were laughing with them. Momo was also red, seeing as she, rather loudly. It was a very lust-filled, which was the reason she was as red as she was. She knew that most of one had heard Momo before. It was never a from Orgsum, but a dare made by Mina. It was always powered by booze if she was dash. It was rather common for 1A. They, whenever a good moment happened, went and have a game night in the dorms. It was always great. Bakugo was less of a yelly, but whenever he had a glass of wine in him. Midoriya was less stuttery, but still shy whenever he drank. Achiko always became very daring whenever she drank. Achiko was a lightweight if she had ever seen one. It only took a single beer for Achiko to get tipsy. So that was pretty funny, right? Let's get to something new, Truth said with a snap, stopping the show. This got some cheers around the area, all excited for the new verse. The excitement calmed down immensely ever, since Truth said they would watch a new universe. Each of them, as always, started by giving their suggestions. It was as much as they wanted to watch that specific world, but it was more a guess for what they would watch. A universe where Izuku is a wild beast man in the forest near our home. Him being seen as the forest guardian with us offering ourselves to him, so he protects us and our guests from all dangers. Pixie Bob said with flair and a lot of movement, making Mandalay blush and shake her head at her friend's actions while Ragdoll was just laughing. Wild Deku. Nah, you crazy senior. A general rule of thumb is that a cat is classified as senior if she's over 11 years of age, which is old for a cat. Izuku is an old Western. Him on a horse, dealing justice from town to town against all types of bandits and injustice with only him, his two trusty revolvers, and his horse. Emmy said slowly, giving away her hobby for old Western movies and games. Gunslinger Izuku. I am still hoping for Izuku with a super dark and cool power within himself that he has to control and make friends with so that he can hope to fulfill his dreams. Mirio said as he himself loved manga with that sort of angles like the very famous Menma. And the sequel Menma Shippuden. Naruto Izuku and Sukuna Izuku. All very fun suggestions, but all are off from the universe we're going to watch. The universe we're going to watch is Izuku with a cool shield. Wait, just that, what the dash? That's kinda lame, isn't it? What can you really do with a shield? Rumi said with her truly believing that the best defense is an overwhelming offense. Truth just let out a laugh as he thought toward the universes where Izuku kicked, but with a simple metal dinner plate that he could throw really well. Don't worry, while he might only be able to use a shield as a weapon, he is still Izuku, Midoriya, and an absolute powerhouse. This made Izuku rub his head shyly. He might be able to better deal with the girls talking about him in a romantic or lust-filled sense, but those compliments about his hard work and skill are still something else. So what is the deal with this world? Sato asked Truth, hoping for a bit more information. Then Izuku has a shield and is strong. Well, I do believe more than everything gets explained inside the story, but Izuku gets a shield, which makes it impossible for him to carry any other weapons. He can SWCH shield, however, with some shields, giving him other abilities. Truth said putting Izuku's abilities out in the open as best as he could without giving the story away. I guess the only thing left to do is to start watching Izuku use a shield in combat. Correct. With a snap, the screen started playing. It showed a 17-year-old Izuku on his knees, pushing a broken fridge over a trash-filled beach. He looked in rather a good shape, and as he was pushing the fridge close to the stairs, he repositioned his hands and started to lift the fridge without much effort as he walked up the steps. He then walked forward still with the fridge in his arms, and he threw it in a large truck without much effort. They weren't even surprised that Izuku was able to just lift a fridge without a problem. It was a little strange to see him push the fridge. Why not just lift it? Save yourself the trouble, Mina asked with Izuku responding. That workout is aimed at the lower back muscles and the leg muscles. Pushing a fridge might not be hard, but the sand makes it harder. Well done, young Midoriya. Well, thanks, Mr. Yagi. It's so much easier when it's just a fridge and not a fridge and a 600 P&D man on top Oswell. He glared at his teacher as he said this, just making the older man give a heartfelt laugh. Perhaps, but you still have to go plus ultra whenever you try something. And we're still working on your body, remember. While you might look fit if you used OFA, now your limbs would explode with your bones breaking into dust. Both Izuku and All Might laughed at the comment of Izuku. It was so true. All Might knew he was a PP at that time. Izuku, when he sat on the fridge, had trouble pushing a normal empty fridge, but with a man that weighed the same as a full fridge, and then some. It was just to show that Izuku still had a long way to go. It then showed a little older Izuku in his hero costume laid on the floor. He had a smile on his face while tears came out of his eyes. It wasn't the only tears. Someone was crying above him. As the screen went wider, it was now clear what happened. Izuku laid on the floor, his gut was open, and BLD had come out with now, it being stopped by a red cloth that used to be white, created by Momo. People had to shield their eyes from the scene. It was unexpected and unwanted. What the truth? Give us a warning, Bakugo yelled out. It was a feeling everyone agreed with. Yeah, sorry about that. Truth said, not finding that it was rather gruesome. Right above his head was a crying Achiko Uraraka. Izuku's head laid on her lap. In a very weak voice, Izuku spoke. Please, Achiko, don't cry. I love you so much. Izuku then coughed up a large amount of BLD. I am sorry, but my promise of going on a date is going to have to wait a bit, he said with a laugh as he couched up more BLD. Izuku, please don't go. I can't live without you. Achiko cried as she squeezed Izuku's hand. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how many words I have to cross. I will come back to you, I promise. I will always love you, Achiko Uraraka, my cute Machi. He said this as his entire body went limp. He died right when All Might and Recovery Girl broke through the wall to come to Izuku. He's gonna come back right. Some god magic or special quirk work right. Inko said, tears in her eyes as she looked over at her son's last words. If it wasn't so sad to see Izuku die, she might have loved the heartfelt confession to one of his first real crushes. It was the same for them all. It was a USJ, only Shigaraki had a quirk that allowed him to control metal, which he had used to fly a pipe through the USJ to kill Aizawa. But Achiko was in between, so Izuku pushed her away, and then he was hit. Shigaraki instantly went away, believing the kid died, and it would crush the symbol of peace his pride enough. Man, Hichindi JB, always trying to kill my future hubby, real dash. Toga said, making Dabi nearly spit out his coffee with a laugh. They really enjoyed making fun of Shigaraki, even when they were Parvelovi. They only weren't able to do so whenever he was in the room, as he would throw a massive tantrum about him being the leader and he should deserve respect. Izuku died that day for well over 4 minutes. The entire time, Achiko held on to him, yelling at him that he promised he would come back. When she said she would never forgive him if he died right now, they were all surprised to hear Recovery Girl announce that he was alive again. His heart started up again. Weak, but there. At least he keeps his promises, Present Mike said, trying to lift the mood a little. Izuku, promise to us right now that you won't die. The female Deku fan club called out right after scaring the SHD out of him as he just nodded as fast as possible. I promise. I won't die. He said with his own mental self, trying to explain that he couldn't keep that promise as he was not immortal, but if he said that now, he felt his death could come far sooner than he wanted. How should I call the love interest of Izuku? I'm liking the Deku fan club, but if you have other ideas or agree with this one, please tell me. It then showed a healthy-looking Izuku again. He looked different than the normal Izuku. It was still Izuku, but he looked sad. Next to him sat someone they were familiar with, but not exactly. It was someone that at first glance looked like Achiko Uraraka, but as they looked closer, there were some differences. The biggest by far was the animal ears and tail. It's like a raccoon Achiko. How cute. Mina said, yeah, but where are they, or where is Izuku? Oh well, Izuku made a promise with a god to defeat a demon lord or devil, and he would get a wish. I'm not fully sure that dude is a real, and I try to keep my distance from him. Truth said, wait, there are multiple gods? Oh yeah, there's a massive bunch of gods. You have me and that dude who is sub-gods. We hold control of a group of sub-worlds, such as this one. I run 3 in total at the moment, including this one. But then you have the real gods, which for your world is called Kohei Horikashi. But you have loads of those as well. We, although are all universal gods, and gods like Thor and Jesus Christ are world gods. Truth said, do you like how I added this? Now I could even have other authors show up for a cameo or something like that. Not that people want that, but it added for the fun of it. Izuku-sama, are you okay? The woman said as she took a bite of her snack, which happened to be mochi. I'm fine, Raftalia. It's just that the snack you're eating was her favorite too. Plus today's date is her birthday, he said as he wiped away a tear. It was the second birthday of her he had missed in this mystery land. DMN, that is unlucky, Kirishima said, shaking his head as he felt bad for his friend. Not only was Izuku away from the woman he loved, but he had to see her look-alike eat her favorite snack on her birthday. That had to be hard for anyone. Oh, I am sorry for not remembering Izuku-sama. She called out she wanted to throw the treat away. Just eat them, it's fine. I need a breath of fresh air, so excuse me, please, Izuku said as he walked out and started jogging away into a small forest. He climbed up a big tree and sat in the top branch as he looked at the stars. I will come back, Achiko. A peeling sky, Achiko said as she enjoyed the sight. It was her hobby to see stars. She even had a telescope that she had to spend 4 months doing side jobs for her to buy it. Izuku knew this and had even planned for it. He had planned to ask Achiko out as friends, seeing he was far too scared at that time to ask it as a real date. But he was now going to do that. Ask her for a romantic date. He had it planned for months. It was a meteor shower that worked perfectly with a super clear sky, making it possible with a telescope to not only see the meteors clearly, but also the moon, and with the help of telescopes, it would be possible to see other planets. The screen then showed Achiko Uraraka sitting on the roof of the newly built UA dorm systems. Please wake up soon, Izuku, she said as she held on to a small All Might figurine that Izuku had gifted her on the first birthday she had known Izuku. Both were kind of embarrassed about the whole deal, but also loved the fact. Achiko loved that she had her own little figurine that she was given by her biggest crush, and Izuku was proud he had enough confidence to gift her something like that. It was kind of CRP that all that information was out in the open as he was thinking of giving Achiko something like that as well. Izuku and Achiko knew each other since she was 5. Inko found out about Bakugo's behavior and moved instantly. She was still in contact with Mitsuki, but this nearly broke their relationship. Bakugo's bullying nearly destroyed his mother's oldest and best friend. When Izuku and Achiko met each other, they were instantly friends. Best friends nonetheless. Whenever Achiko showed up, you could guess Izuku was not that far behind or the other way around. "We're still buddies, right, Green?" Mitsuki asked with Inko laughing. "Of course, we are, Blondie," Inko responded, receiving an arm over her shoulder and closing the hug close. Inko hugged back. The girls were kind of jealous of Achiko. They got to be his childhood friend and his childhood crush. In their time together, their relationship grew and kept growing. Until that fateful day when they turned 12. Izuku asked Achiko out, and she agreed. In the first year, Izuku and Achiko held hands whenever they were together, both being too shy to do anything else. They'd do more. They gave each other small kisses and hugs. But each second Achiko was alone, she had her hands on the All Might figurine. The one she got when she was 5. Now it was clearly used, but she still loved it. It was her lucky charm. It had needed a charge, which was Izuku, but was always fully charged. It had been 2 months for Achiko, while it had been 2 years for Izuku. "Weird God magic?" Kaminari asked. "Weird God magic," Truth said with a nod. It received a laugh. They had the same thing. They had been in here for who knows how long, but when they would go back, they would just wake up. Like weird magic. Weird God magic. In those 2 months, Achiko went by Izuku each day after school, and if possible before school. She acted as if Izuku could hear her every word, which in a way he could. Each day, Achiko arrived, being put as a family by Inko, so she was allowed right in at all times. She then proceeded to work on homework with Izuku, asking him questions but answering them herself. If she was done with homework, she would start watching a show, giving him the rundown for what they watched. There have been studies done that coma patients are able to hear the people near them, and it has even been claimed that it helps people come out of them faster than expected. Nisa told everyone, them nodding and understanding. She even had meals as a family together. Inko or her mother would come with food, and they would eat as a family. Achiko and Inko always sat next to Izuku. Achiko was even able to sleep a couple of nights there. Izuku had his own room as a small gift from All Might and Nizu. Speaking of All Might, he also showed up nearly every day. He was able to come by in his weak form, as Achiko knew of OFA and All Might. "That is really sweet," Nijire said as she wiggled in her chair in excitement. "Thank you for that," Izuku said toward Achiko, who sat close to him, who just blushed and waved it off. The girls didn't like the fact that they didn't show up, but they kind of expected it. Before the USJ, they didn't have that big of a relationship with Izuku, except maybe Tsu, but that was still not as much as Achiko, or this Achiko. It then went back to Izuku, who now, badly beaten, stood as the winner in front of a being of pure light without it hurting his eyes. The being called himself God, or the absolute being. And seeing as Izuku completed their deal, he was given one wish. "So what is your wish, Izuku, Midoriya?" Izuku stood up, now being held up by Raphtalia, who was also injured. "I want to get back to my world. I want me and Raphtalia to go back to my original world." "Sure." And with a snap, Izuku was back in his real world, completing his promise to Uraraka. "What a man," Kirishima said with a tear in his eyes as he clenched his fist in pride of his friend, and he is taking Raphtalia with him. "Guess that is going to be a big chance for the girl," Ryukyu said. "Changing location for love isn't that weird," Achiko said with Shota adding on. They didn't say anything about love though, just one look at her face. "And it's clear she is in love," Momo said with a smile. It then went to Izuku in his UA dorm. On one arm, it was Achiko Uraraka, or now Achiko Midoriya. On his other arm, Raphtalia Tanuki, or now Raphtalia Midoriya. Both, when Izuku came back to got to know each other, and it was like looking into a mirror. Both became friends, and then they became into a THRSM relationship with each of them, having feelings for both of them. Haha, that's pretty funny. Emmy said with Zero not understanding what was funny, so he asked, well, Tanuki is a translation for raccoon, which that lady clearly is. Kind of funny. With the explanation, they all shared a giggle and a chuckle. Yeah, she didn't have a last name before seeing as she was a SLV, but when Izuku found her, he gave her that last name. Truth said with a smile. Then shortly after getting their feelings out in the open, they got married. It was weird but great. It was also a great story to tell. Izuku kissed both his wives awake. Wake up, we have to get up. Both got up and kissed him. Then they kissed each other with more passion than most people would do in the morning. They did that only to tease Izuku, who tightened his hands on both of their butts. That's hot, Izuku said under his breath. As the words left his mouth, he turned as red as Kirishima's hair and slapped his mouth shut. Everyone near him heard and was either laughing or blushing. It didn't help that Emmy laughed and explained why she was laughing full volume, having everyone hear it. It then showed Izuku in a fight with Bakugo, both looking older as they were now both third years of UA. Bakugo ran away to fix his gauntlet, as it had a problem, as Izuku broke the handle. Air shield. Push. In front of Bakugo, a shield showed up out of thin air. It then shot forward. It is higher than most of Bakugo, but not his head, so he fell backward, his nose broken. Shield prison. Then Bakugo got in a ball made out of shields and chains. Into Iron Maiden. It turned into a large Iron Maid, which when closed let out the scream of pain coming from Bakugo. Get smacked like a dash. Rumi said as she looked at Bakugo getting his butt hooped big time by Izuku. Bakugo was mad, but he could argue. He was being at this moment. Was he running? Even with a broken gauntlet, Bakugo should have been able to keep up with Izuku. He won their match where they didn't even have support gear. Why did he run, though? I mean, Bakugo isn't a pushover. Oh well, Izuku has a nearly unbeatable defense with a shield and control of 87% of OFA. He could, with a quick turn of the hips, generate enough air force to push someone over. A punch at full power, and him fully trying could make a building disappear. Izuku Midoriya wins the match. Aizawa called out, with Izuku letting the Iron Maiden disappear as Bakugo fell on the floor face first, but up with his pants on his ankles, with his boxers being filled with small All Might faces. Feels bad, Kirishima said as he tried not to laugh at Bakugo. It was kind of hard after Kaminari asked if he had decided to war those boxers at the moment. Bakugo nearly exploded without his quirk. Don't feels too bad, Bakugo. I know that some here have those boxers as well. Truth said, looking over the group with a smile. Who? Rumi said, knowing she doesn't have All Might underwear. I won't give away secrets like that carrot thong. Truth said with a smile, as he just enjoyed the evil glare Rumi gave him. How about before we have a murder on our hands, we watch another one? Izuku suggested, not wanting to see a sight between Truth and Rumi. Sure. With Rumi and Truth still glaring at each other, Izuku tried making them get calm, but Rumi was still clearing at Truth as Truth asked for suggestions. It was quiet for a little while, with some of them coming with suggestions slowly. Some of the suggestions were the same as before, but there were new ones. Such as Aways, who asked for an Izuku with elemental powers, such as his favorite show when he was a kid. The thought of Izuku using fire, water, wind, and earth at his own will. While Aways never hated his quirk, or even despised his own quirk, but he still had dreams as a kid of him firing off fireballs or move entire mountains. Or you who suggested Izuku with a quirk like hers fighting bad guys. The thought of Izuku growing into a massive size and going blow for blow with any enemy and winning each fight. Him carrying a large boat on his shoulder to protect the people inside that boat from a storm or villains. All good suggestions, but let's see what is the winner. With a snap, the screen started showing color, but was paused. Before you all ask what is what. In this world, Izuku has a quirk which makes him extremely powerful, but he also gets very hungry. How powerful is that? Masaru asked. Well, let's say we have All Might as a baseline. Izuku in his full form would be the All Might, and All Might would be a sick child in comparison. This made everyone's eyes widen in shock. So let's say if Izuku would go full power and punch the ground in the middle of Tokyo, what would happen? Setsuna asked with Izuku thinking for a little. Tokyo would be gone, maybe even Japan. The earthquakes would also cause mass destruction as well as tsunamis and such. It would not be a fun thing to experience. Truth said, just loving the faces of everyone. Now let's stop wasting time and play the goddamn SH language Bakugo. Ida yelled out to Bakugo, who cussed. Eri and Koda just heard a beep, but they understood that Bakugo just said no words. Truth just agreed and started playing the show. The screen showed UA. A bright sun on the back of UA, showing it in a majestic light. The camera started zooming in on a boy with messy green hair and a monkey tail who stood in front of the gate with a large smile on his face with clear enjoyment and amazement. He has a monkey tail. Yeah, it's a part of his quirk. If he goes out of control with rage, he started turning into a large gorilla and goes on a rampage. This kind of received some giggles as they just assumed a gorilla with Izuku's face, but the fact he said rampage did give them a scare, seeing a punch of him could alter maps. He made his way inside with a calm aura around him. It was time for the UA entrance exam, and the first time he would enter a school. He was homeschooled his entire life by his loving and amazing mother, Inko Midoriya. Oh, such a mama's boy, Mina said with Izuku responding, and proud of it. He said with pride as Inko made her way over to Izuku to give him a hug and a smooch on his cheek. Izuku hugged back with Eri and Koda, also making way to Izuku and Inko to join in on the hug. Izuku got in the auditorium and sat down his eyes and was very vocal and out their personality. The first word the stranger spoke to him were, "I have to sit next to a monkey, extras." Izuku didn't have that much contact with anyone else except his mother and some family friends. But he assumed this kid had his own type of speech. "Hello to you as well, spiky blonde kid. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet ya." Oh, of course that would be how Bakugo would respond. Shiro said with Bakugo sucking his teeth and gave the finger only to receive a smack on his head from Mitsuki, making him fall out of his chair. Bakugo didn't give a vocal response. He sucked his teeth and just ignored Izuku fully. Izuku sat down, and seeing as his stomach was grumbling, he started eating chips he had in his bag. Present Mike began, explaining the whole thing. Izuku didn't really listen. He knew what was going to happen and what he had to do. Izuku sat there while munching on chip after chip. He was enjoying a fine bag of hot and spicy chips when some strange dark blue-haired kid with glasses stood up and started complaining. He complained to Present Mike that UA had made a mistake of some sort, which was insane. UA making a mistake for something that had already been done dozen times before without fail. Ida just sank in embarrassment as he heard laughter. He didn't blame them. He thought about this on a later date. He saw the flaw in his statement on that day. It was just the amount of stress on that day that clouded his judgment. And you, the kid with the green and black hair. We are here to learn the ways to become a hero and not to snack on unhealthy junk food. Show some respect to your fellow applicants and those who came before you by not stuffing your face. Ida called out with Izuku, just emptying the entire bag in his mouth, chewed a couple of times and swallowed. "Sorry, I get hungry," Izuku said, grabbing a new bag, which made Ida nearly yell out again, but Present Mike got in between it and started explaining more. There is no rule against eating during the explanation. Most people just can't due to stress. Nizu told them with the students, remembering how hard it was to eat breakfast that day. Each of them only was able to eat as they would need the energy for the entrance exam. "Now, give me a plus ultra," Present Mike said with Izuku, looking confused. He always heard a teacher of him yell that each time they trained or sparred. They were sent into a room to complete the written test, which for Izuku was easy. He had been given harder tests by his mother a couple of years ago. They were questions of normal school stuff, but also hero questions, such as if you find a villain holding two people hostage, one young child over a pit of lava, and one old lady on top of a chair with her neck and a nose, who would you save? Izuku ignored the two options and just wrote both of them onto the second option. "I really found those questions weird," Toru said, as most questions were really out there. "It's so that we can see who has hero potential. They do count to the points, but not enough to make someone fail the exam, as we also teach you those during the year." It took him 30 minutes before he was done with the test. It wasn't that hard, but still a lot of questions. Thankfully, when they were done, you were allowed to walk out. So that was exactly what he did. He went to the waiting area, which was the cafeteria. He grabbed his bag and started eating again. He had a very small breakfast. He only had 12 eggs, 500 grams of rice, 500 grams of sausages, and 2 liters of water. So he decided to buy some snacks on the way to school. Sure, a light breakfast, Sato said, looking at the mass of food that laid in front of Izuku, and which he swallowed as if it was a single bite. Some of the people got a little nauseous as they saw how much Izuku was able to eat and keep eating. Slowly more people entered the cafeteria until a tired hobo-looking man came out and told them to follow him. They were then sent into buses with Izuku just sitting in silence while smiling at the others on the bus. Each of them was already in an outfit such as training suits or the likes, but Izuku was still in jeans and a black shirt. He looked at his phone and saw 2 texts. One from his mother. Izuku, do your best, and remember not to try and hurt your fellow students, okay? Sure, Mom, but we're fighting robots, so I should be able to not hurt anyone. Izuku texted back with a big smile as his mom sent a gift that was a dancing bear with the caption, "You got this." Does Ma'am Midoriya like sending gifts? Setsuna asked with Inko giving a nod. She loved sending gifts. She would always send at least one per day. Izuku always responded with one back. Does she dabble in memes, though? Kaminari asked. Not really. I have some minion picture from Facebook, but that's it. Inko responded. Then the other text was his teacher that Izuku had named Skeletor. Young Midoriya, hope you stay safe during the exam, and remember to give your all against the robots. Sure thing, sir. We're just about to get out of the bus, but is it okay to go shirtless? Don't want to ruin my shirt. Aha, yes, it should be okay, just don't try and distract too many young ladies. Izuku responded with a Y, but the man didn't respond. Ha, Skeletor, Ifo said, laughing at his enemy. Emi was also laughing at the fact. She nearly died at the fact of Skeletor was brought up. All Might himself laughed as well. It was rather funny. He understood the whole fact about his preview's appearance looked rather skeleton-like. Izuku shrugged as he got out of the truck. He removed his shirt and folded it neatly, much to the shock and enjoyment of the female students around him. The blue-haired boy walked up to Izuku again. Why did you remove your shirt? Have you no shame? Are you trying to ruin the chances of others? What? No, of course not. I just didn't want to ruin my clothing as it's one of my favorite shirts. Sorry if I am doing something wrong. Boo, get to the stage, you party pooper. Setsuna, Mina, Namuri, and you yelled out to Ida, who didn't know what to do. Izuku just shook his head as the woman started whistling as Izuku's body was on screen. Izuku was really apologetic about it, as he didn't think removing his shirt would be a problem, but before Ida would start scolding Izuku about the shirt, the bell went signaling that they would have to go and complete the test. While everyone else started running, Izuku fixed the shirt a little nicer and began jogging into the test site. For him, it was jogging. For everyone else, it was a pure sprint. He started softly punching the robots with nearly normal force. Each robot just broke apart. They exploded in parts. It didn't matter what robot, it was they all fell as if it was paper against Izuku's fist. What manly power, Tetsu said with amazement. He didn't even see All Might with that amount of power. Sure, All Might could punch a robot, and it would respond in the same way, but All Might would have to put far more effort into it. Izuku earned 89 points, giving him the top spot with still having around 7 minutes to go. The teachers were talking about him. One hobo-looking man saw the kid, clearly holding back. One skeleton-looking man was looking at his student with a proud smile. A corny cougar was vibrating in excitement as she saw the shirtless god walking around, and a chimera cackling like an insane inventor, his mind already expecting the enjoyment that child will bring. Ha! It called you a cougar, you old witch. You yelled to Namuri, who was getting ready for a fight. Can we not fight? Unless it's a mud fight, Izuku said, smacking his hands on his mouth. He glared at Truth, who was much like others, laughing hard. Oh, that was amazing. Didn't think that was hiding in that deep part of your brain. Huh. Izuku sat down embarrassed, as you and Namuri also sat down. For the rest of the time, Izuku didn't really run. He walked and defended himself with rocks he picked up. He just threw them at the robots if they came too close. After his first throw, nearly destroyed the robot and the building behind the robot. He held back even more. That was until a massive robot started showing up and a brunette woman was stuck under some rubble. Oh, how is he going to get rid of the big boy? Pony asked very excitedly about the strong Izuku moments. Oh, who says he's going to get rid of it? He might just take Oka and run or jog. Mina said, nah, Green is going to hit it hard. How could he not? Jiro said with a smirk. They all knew that Izuku would not back down from a fight to save someone. While the others ran away at their top speed in fear, Izuku just walked up to the girl. The robot started moving closer. Izuku crouched down near the girl. You need help? Yes, please, we need to get away. The robot is going to crush us. Izuku just swung his arm toward the robot and through pure wind pressure erased the entire robot as well as the nearby buildings. Oops, I guess that was too much power, Izuku said as he gave the rock on Achiko's legs a soft tap, making it fly off her into the rubble of the building. Goddamn, Mirio said, kind of shocked at the pure amount of power Izuku held and apparently didn't have a perfect hold on yet. You need to get a hold of that before going pro. Don't want you killing a villain by accident, Aizawa said, kind of amused. Most people had to learn to become stronger, while Izuku was learning to hold back. Didn't happen that often. Let's get you healed up, Izuku said as he lifted her in bridle style, making the girl faint as she felt his rock-hard abs and her face right on his pec. It was too much and made her lose consciousness. Recovery Girl just kissed Achiko, whose ankle became better, and she woke up only to instantly get knocked out again. Don't worry, kiddo, just place her down, and I will make sure she wakes up and stays awake. You should just put on a shirt and head out. Izuku bowed and said a thank you and made his way as the screen started turning black. Lucky dashed. All the girls muttered under their breath. Even Achiko herself did. She wanted that be her, not her. Such a Lucky, hugging his big muscles so closely. She even dared to faint doing so. You ladies done hating on Achiko. This got the girls to nod. You to Achiko, Truth said with Achiko giving an unhappy nod. Good, now we can go to the next one, Truth said with a snap to clear the screen. It's going to be Izuku as an assassin taking care of the worst villains out there. He will be the reason villains are afraid to be out at night. Stalking through the shadows, scaring them all to stay out in the open, where we heroes can take care of them, Nijire said with a laugh. Nah, it's Izuku as a god, with him showing his power to everyone, with him being worshipped by everyone, Siro said as a joke, with others laughing as well. Truth was rather impressed that someone was able to guess what really was going to happen. How about Izuku having no quirk, but him being like a super dope hacker, with him winning the fight by controlling electronica and stuff like exploding people's phones, or him gaining large pieces of information by hacking SHD. Mei said loving in Izuku, who uses cool types of babies to defeat bad guys. Well, how about Izuku, but he creates a suit of armor and he shoots out energy beams. Him destroying people while being inside a sick suit of armor. Melissa added to Mei's point, which exited both girls. Even more, to which they started talking to each other about their own stories. How about Izuku as a brawler-type hero like that vigilantly knuckle duster? He is kind of a badass how he takes down bad guys. You know, Izuku using nothing but his guts and his fist to take down the worst of the worst. No matter how bad the odds or how badly he gets hurt. He gets back up each day and starts up again while maintaining a normal life. Shota suggested as he loved to see a good fist fight. Instead of guessing, we could just watch it and see what it is about, Aizawa said, sipping on a cup of coffee. But what's the fun in that, Mr. Grumpy Pants? Emmy said as she just laughed away at Aizawa's glare. We could watch it, but let's see if anyone was correct about the world. With a snap, the words Siro showed on screen. That is right, Siro guessed correctly. We're going to watch Izuku as a god. What is him as a god? Are we going to see him alter reality? Would he even be able to do so? Toya asked with uncertainty. He and everyone there really didn't have a full understanding of what the capabilities are of a god. Sure, they knew that Truth was able to do some crazy stuff, but who knows if he had limits. I mean, yeah, he could be, but he wouldn't really do that to his people. But for more, let's just watch what he does with it. Truth said with a snap of the fingers, making the word Siro disappear and the show beginning to start. We see 1A sitting in their classroom with Shinso being in Izuku's seat. Aizawa was giving them a lecture about heroics when a large beam of pure light went up right outside of their classroom. Aizawa jumped right out the window, ready for a fight at this villain. It didn't take any time after the light was gone with the dust still up that all in the air. I would guess something would be different in our class if Izuku would be a god. Momo said as she saw her class with the only chance being Shinso. Aizawa, you should watch out when doing stuff like that. You never know what the enemy could do or where you would land. Nizu told his employee, it's my job as a hero and their homeroom teacher to protect them even if that would cost me my life, he said without a doubt in his voice. Dadzawa, Mina and Toru said, making Aizawa smile. Under his scarf, as he told them to never call him that again. Present Mike and Namiri both called him a big softy as Present Mike pulled down his scarf, showing the smile off, which earned him about whopping. Midnight, Present Mike, Aizawa, Hound Dog, Lunch Rush, Snipe, Cementos, Ectoplasm, Vlad King, Nizu, and All Might all stood surrounding the dust cloud ready to fight this unknown intruder. Whoever you are, Villian, surrender now or we will take you down. All Might called out as he clapped his hands with enough wind power to blast the dust away. Very quick response time, Nizu said, quite impressed, but he believed it was more luck than anything, as in that time they would either all have All Might's speed or be nearby. I am more surprised than anything that none of the kids ran out. Well, it's not like Problem Child is with them. Hey, I would never make the others jump out with me. Izuku said, fully knowing he would jump out. Yes, but those idiots would follow you the second you jumped out. Aizawa said, making his class give an awkward laugh, as they knew they would do that. What they saw was a very fit-looking naked Izuku. This sort of shocked them, with one being rather excited about it. What did he say? Do you only speak Sanskrit, or do you also know our language? Nizu spoke with Izuku, gaining a smile. He then just showed up in front of Nizu and placed his hand on top of Nizu's skull, with both of them gaining glowing eyes. The girls were all red-faced and drooling as they saw Izuku in his naked glory. They absolutely loved the sight of Izuku. Izuku was just glad that the guys weren't able to see him, but as he noticed they all had weird faces, so he assumed it was just blurred out, which was a horrible thought. What did he say? That is Sanskrit, also known as the oldest language known on Earth. It was spoken the last time Izuku was on Earth, so it was the last known language he knew. So he doesn't know everything. He does, but in the God real we all speak one language that is understood by everyone, but on Earth it doesn't work, so he used the last language he knew, which was Sanskrit. Truth explained with them, giving a nod. The heroes saw this as an attack. All Might with full power hit Izuku in the face, as Aizawa removed Izuku's quirk in hopes of stopping this. Namiri struck with her WHB. Snipe unloaded his entire mag into Izuku, but it did nothing. After 5 seconds, Izuku removed his hand and was back inside the circle. That did nothing at all. All Might punched him in the face full power, and it didn't do anything. Kinda want that type of defense, Kirishima said in wonder. He really wanted that type of power himself. To him, being able to tank an attack from All Might, or now Midoriya, would be his goal. He really wanted to get to that level of strength, and he was already training with Izuku to achieve that, but they still had a long way to go. Sorry for that, but don't worry, I'm not a villain. Then why are you here? What are you doing here, and how did you get here? Aizawa said as the others were still checking on Nizu. I am here because I am here to check out everything I missed during my time. And I got here with my powers. Your quirk, what is it? This power of mine isn't a quirk, it's what caused quirks. Wait, he is the reason for quirks. He is the reason for quirks in that world. In this and most of the other world. The reason is the real gods like Horikoshi. So if you want to thank someone for your powers, praise Horikoshi. Truth said with a laugh. This made them look at Izuku, strangely, who was still naked. Can you get dressed, please? It's kind of weird. Oh, my apologies. Izuku said as the same outfit Nizu wore only for his size. Is this acceptable? Yes it is. So, Izuku, how about we go inside to discuss this more? Can we still ask what he is? Is he a hero or a villain? Those terms do not mean anything to me. I am a god. You're kidding, right? Present Mike said. Oh, boo. What a killjoy, Setsuna said as she threw her hand over to Izuku to smack him on the head. He just caught her hand and squeezed it a little, causing Setsuna to make a sound. She also wiggled her fingers toward Izuku's face, which he found rather funny. No, I am a god, Izuku said with a straight face as they were walking. Prove it. How can I prove it? I could destroy humanity completely and bring it all back if you want. Give me a large diamond ring." Namiri joked, but Izuku held out his hand, and a fully diamond ring was created. It was the size of a beach ball. "This enough for you to believe I am a god," Izuku said as they entered Nizu's office. "Oh, well, I don't think she meant that ring," Kami said with Namiri having a blank face. She always wanted to get a diamond ring from that special someone, but not that sort of SHD, although with a big diamond like that, she could do whatever she wanted. He sat down right in front of everyone, each of them looking at him. "So can I go? I want to learn about this world and see what it has to offer." "You can't leave. You entered UA grounds without permission, and I still don't believe that you are a god." Aizawa spoke from his sleeping bag. "Why don't you believe me? Is it that you don't believe in gods, or is it something else? Gods don't exist. Everything can be explained with science. So how did court start? Or this?" Izuku clapped his hands, and Aizawa's sleeping bag disappeared, and he turned pink. His hands became his feet, and his hair turned to water while holding the same shape as before. What did you do?" Cementos asked. "Just some funny things. I mean, I can do anything seeing as I am God. Can I ask, if you are God, why did you not remove evil from this world?" "Because I don't want to and promise not to." This got weird stares. "Aren't you supposed to be God?" "Well, yeah, but there are more gods. And we all agreed to each other to not alter humanity. So I'm not going to remove evil. I mean, it would remove free will from the world. It would remove the chance of people doing whatever they wanted." Momo said. She, like many others, wanted to remove villains from the entire world, but that didn't mean she would want free will to be gone. "Very true, young Yaoyorozu. While we might want to get rid of villainy, it's an impossible fight," All Might said. "Now, I'm going to go check out the classes. Want to see what they are about," Izuku said after speaking some more. They couldn't really stop him, but Namiri did walk with him. Izuku walked into 1B. "Hello, everyone," he said friendly. Hi, who are you?" Kendo responded, seeing she was the class representative. "I am Izuku, or God, whatever you want. Do not compare yourself to the Lord, you sinner." Ibara screamed, appealed by the statement Izuku made. "I mean, he's making weird butt statements to people he doesn't know at all." Ragdoll said, "If a person just calls themselves a god on their first meeting with me, it's not like I would believe them." Ryuko said, seeing as how many villains claim they are gods or royalty like that stuff. "Miss Shiosaki, he is speaking the truth from what we found out. I do not believe it." When she said this, her quirk was removed. Her hair turned from vines to normal green hair. "Only believers get quirks." Izuku said, fully intending it as a joke, with him only removing the quirk as a showing. This, however, was seen as an act of aggression as one blonde-haired idiot got up. "Oh, he is doing some dumb shit right there," Kendo said with a sight to her classmate, who just TST at the fact. Monoma still believed he would be able to win because he was the real MC of the story, not that green-haired cheater. "I do hope I give your quirk back," Izuku said toward Shiosaki, who gave him a friendly smile. "Of course, Izuku. I know you would not do something like that." The smile Izuku gave back made her blush. "You attacked one of my classmates, you villain," he screamed as he punched Izuku, only for Izuku to swat him away, making him turn into a red mist. "H. The class screamed with Izuku, saying "oops," and clapping his hand, turning the red mist back into Monoma. "Sorry about that, friend. I didn't want to smack you that hard. Hope this makes up for it," Izuku said as he gave Monoma a gold bar the size of a Mars bar. "Well, at least he attacked for a good reason, but holy SHD, he got removed," Komori said, rather shocked at the red mist cloud Izuku made Monoma. "I mean, he did get lots of money for it, so might be worth it." "I mean, yes, seeing as Izuku used so much force, he didn't even feel pain. It just went dark for him until he was brought back," Truth said. Ibara went on her hands and knees much like the others and started praying and worshipping him. "Please forgive my previous words, a great Izuku-san," Ibara said with her head on the floor. "You know that isn't needed. Not the godly type that's into all the worship and stuff." Also here, Ibara's head started turning into vines again. "Well, say, later got some more classes to go by." "So Izuku got a thing for that worship Kankei," Emi said, rather wanting to know if that is the type of thing Izuku likes. Izuku wasn't going to respond as he wasn't that confident yet, but Truth didn't care, so he used his weird god magic now, called WGM, to make Izuku answer truthfully. I wouldn't mind it, but it is not at the top, he said as he gained a blush and just looked at Truth with his sight. Really again. Truth laughed with the ladies laughing there, but off with a blush. He then made his way to 1A. Who is that extra? Bakugo called out. Bakugo, those words are not acceptable against a stranger. Sorry for my classmate. Hello, my name is Tenya Ida, Ida said with Izuku, sort of ignoring him as he looked past all the faces. Hi. I am Izuku. 1A, this is Izuku. He is a god. Namiri said with everyone just looking at him weirdly. This is a god. Then I am his god. Bakugo should really learn manners. It might end up killing him one of these days, Kamakiri said. Ha-as if some could kill me, he yelled out, gaining a second smack from Mitsuki. Shut up, you loud, but that hurts my ears. Mitsuki yelled at the same volume as Bakugo, if not louder. Izuku looked at him, then snapped his fingers, and Bakugo's mouth disappeared. I am not a fan of you, sit down. With that, Bakugo was forced to sit down without being able to fight back. If you're a god, how about you show us by giving me 100 babes that want to have with me? Izuku snapped his fingers and looked away. Mineta looked weird at Izuku as he ignored his request, and then he noticed. He looked inside his pants. Give me back my PPU, but I can remove that one Oswell if you keep talking, Izuku said as he pinched Achiko's cheeks and walked toward Momo and pushed his hand through her standing ponytail. Well, I have seen enough from this class. For now, let's see the other ones. Mineta was sent many glares as he wished for 100 babes, but he spoke. What any shot not shot is always a miss. While that might be a true statement, no woman is going to find you attractive if you act like that. You have to work on not only the outside, but also the inside. Calling a woman cute is one thing, but calling a woman a hot piece of but with big mommy milkers you want a motorboat until your death is not going to get you anything except a slap in the face, Izuku said as he thought back to the time he heard Mineta say those exact words in his time at the dorm. That is right, Mineta. We girls don't like guys that act overall perverted. Also, try and stay loyal to one woman and don't focus on her outside, but on her inside. This gave Mineta lots to think about as he looked down and started thinking about the whole thing. Well, let's see the next one right, Truth said, gaining nods and having people guess again. How about an Izuku that has the ability to alter light, making it so his body can do weird stuff like a punch at longer ranges or infuse items, and it would strengthen them? Kendo thought, as it was something different much like all the other universes they have been watching so far. That is how Harem works, right? Or am I wrongly informed, or is it correct? Nah, it's going to be Izuku who can use electricity, and he is like a super skilled fighter, being able to destroy anyone within a second. But he's so good at fighting that he uses JoJo's to fight just to add insult to injury. Rin said, with some of them laughing at the idea of Izuku being a super badass who fights with JoJo's. Killua, Izuku? How about Izuku with two personalities? One that is the one we know, sweet and calm, super friendly and nice, a real hero. But then a second one that is dark and grimy, vigilantly destroys villains completely without mercy. Tsuburaba suggested showing his love for dark and grimy shows. Jackal and Hyde Izuku. Rumi scoffed. No, it's finally the Izuku who lived in the forest, him being a wild beast of a man with him living however he wants without a shirt or pants. Him walking around in nothing but a loincloth as defeats any enemies that dare to stand against him, Rumi declared as she licked her lips at the thought of Izuku. Wild Izuku, how about we just watch the real universe and see what we were going to watch? Truth suggested, with them giving a nod as they quiet down and went to summon more food. Eri, that is your third candy apple. You know the deal. Yes, Papa, she responded as she gave the candy apple to All Might as she summoned a plate of her favorite veggies. She had always had a deal with her papa. She wasn't allowed more than 2 candy apples per day, with a max of 6 per week. Izuku was afraid she would hurt her teeth or ruin her appetite. Don't worry, Izuku. The candy apple's sugar don't affect her at all, Truth responded as the screen began to show. We see a 4-year-old Izuku sitting with Bakugo on a fence. Both didn't have their quirks yet, as they sat there calling out the different shapes of clouds while they waited for their 2 other friends. Look, Kakin, that one kind of looks like All Might, doesn't it? Izuku asked, aimed toward a cloud. Kind of, but it could also be a bunny, Bakugo said. They were so cute as kids, Yu said with Mitsuki responding, and quiet. As she thought back at young Bakugo, he was such a sweetie until he got his quirk. The random explosions at night or morning the first year, the number of times she bought ibuprofen skyrocketed. Izuku sneezed, but instead of being a normal sneeze, it blew really hard. Izuku sneezed so hard that he got lifted and flew into a tree around 2 meters behind them and 3 meters high. Bakugo got kicked off, which made him scream as he fell off and landed on his butt. That is a goddamn sneeze and a half, Zero said, seeing how hard Izuku sneezed. It was kind of a shock for them seeing the strength of the sneeze. I have seen punches that are weaker than that, Mirio said with a laugh. It was funny to think of Izuku sneezing in someone's face and knocking them out of giving them a black eye. What the was that? The 4-year-old Bakugo said as he searched for his best friend, which he saw inside of the tree. How did you get there? I think it's my quirk. What the hell? I thought you sneezed, so what your quirk is just having super sneezes that are stupid. Bakugo responded to Izuku. I would totally not mind the power to sneeze that hard. Carry pepper on you, and boom, you got enough power to knock and gross someone out. Sounds like a fun combo. Away said he didn't hate his weld quirk, but it wasn't the strongest quirk to fight with. His combat revolved around him welding clothing or shoes to the floor and then hitting them. But if there was a villain with an Izuku-type quirk, he would most likely just die. I don't think that is it. Look, Izuku moved his hands, and the leaves started moving with it. You can control the wind, that cool. Let's go show Auntie and Mom. Bakugo said very excitedly, I can't, Kakin. I am too high up. Izuku said slightly scared as he looked down. For a 1-meter tall kid, being at the height of 3 meters is scary. Bakugo just laughed at Izuku. Ha ha, they were all laughing at Izuku, including Izuku. If only our Izuku cared that much about his safety, Momo said, remembering the time she saw Izuku jump from a 6-meter tall hill and kept trying to use wind pressure to negate the fall. Hey, I don't do that many dumb things, Izuku tried saying, but it was like fighting a god, seeing as each of the 1A students or teachers had a different moment of Izuku where he did something that was dumb and dangerous, like jumping off a hill, or him using too many weights while doing weird workouts. It now showed an 8-year-old Izuku. He was in a football field of concrete. Izuku was moving rocks he had placed there. He was using different moves to move the rock. If he stamped on the floor, the rock would fly upward. If he punched forward, the rock would fly forward. He used all sorts of different moves to test what would do what. What the? I thought his quirk was wind manipulation. Now he is moving rocks. Is he using the wind to move them, or something? Mitsuki said, not expecting moving rocks. Well, he explains it later on, so just keep watching. True said with Mitsuki giving a couch while saying, lazy BSDRD, which resulted in the laughter from the others. He broke the rock in pieces and shot them out to a log, knocking its bark off. Well, you're getting stronger, Midori, an 8-year-old Mina said as she walked toward Izuku. Of course I am. I need to get stronger if I want to be a hero, Izuku said as he did a high horizontal kick toward Mina, which made her hat fall off, showing 2 small horns. Much smaller than Mina's normal horns. It looked as if they only recently started growing. Oh, looks how cute she looks, Achiko said, seeing her pink-skinned friend as 8-year-olds. Mina just blushed as everyone kept commenting how cute she was as a kid. It only got worse when Mina's horns were shown. She heard a cute from Izuku, which made her blush double in intensity. It didn't stop the ladies from giving her other comments about how cute she looked. Wait, Mina, did your horns really grow? Why, yes, why? That means they're going to continue to grow. Maybe it's like your nails, and they will continue to grow, Izuku said as he wrote down the possibility. It made everyone think of a Mina with massive horns. Some had cool images in mind, while some had Mina in mind with weird goat horns. Well, if you want to see an adult Mina here. Truth snapped his fingers, and a picture of Mina showed up showing everyone how she looked. Everyone was amazed by how Mina looked. They all gave her compliments, which were that she looked badass or manly. She was called and appealing. Mina loved this look, and it made her think that she might need to grow her hair out, as she liked that look on herself. Hey, why did you do that? Mina said as started chasing the small pick hat Mina wore as Izuku started using his wind powers on it. Why do you wear it? I really like your little horns. They're cute like you. Izuku said, making Mina yell out no as she was able to get her hat. They are weird. Mina whined. They're not weird, you cute little alien, Toru said as she squeezed her friend's cheeks together. Tots girl, you look hella fly rocking that style, but Cammy said with a peace sign as she spoke to her new pink-skinned friend. I know now, silly, but I was 8 then, and kids can be pages, Mina said with a laugh. She might have hated her horns in the beginning, but now she loved them as it was just a part of her. It now showed a 10-year-old Izuku standing next to a young black-haired Kirishima, with Bakugo also nearby. Bakugo was throwing rocks with explosions into the hill. It was the main area they were playing and training. It was a large piece of forest Izuku's father had bought before he died. He had permanently paid for as far as Izuku knew. If Izuku's dad is AFO, in this I want to bet that there's a villain hideout somewhere in that area. AFO knew as he had the same area. He had that area for his booze and some more expensive items such as money and even some other items. No idea, but don't think that would be the smartest move as heroes could easily locate that true financials. AFO said, lying to remove those pesky heroes from searching for it. Look at this, Izuku screamed out excitedly as he was leaning on a rocky hill. All the rocks started surrounding him until he was looking like a rock person. Cool, both called out. That is even stronger than my quirk. That's so cool, Kirishima yelled out as he handed his arm, which made it look a little harder. Cool, were the reactions of many of the students watching Oswell as Eri and Koda as they saw the Rockman, or how Truth wanted to call it Dwayne. That quirk is really powerful and weird. He can control wind and rocks. I mean, what the hell is going to be next? Manga said in his comics bubble. Blow me up, Kakin, Izuku said with Bakugo, not even giving it a second, and attacked Izuku with an explosion to the stomach. A little dust cloud showed up with Izuku still standing tall. But the rocks around his stomach were broken and fell to the floor. The rest of the armor didn't stay on long afterward. Guess you have to work on it a little more, Deku, Bakugo said with Izuku, giving a nod as he fell to the floor. Of course he would ask that, Aizawa said, not even surprised one bit as Izuku asked Bakugo to blow him up. I feel there are different testing stages than going from look at this and blow me up, Jiro said with a laugh, which made Izuku laugh. Well, going for a max right away would show me my limits that I need to surpass, right? He said in earnest. It was now 2 years later with Izuku, Mina, Bakugo, and Kirishima being 12 years old. They were having fun at the beach. It showed Bakugo in a water donut being sent from one side to the other as Kirishima was making a large sandcastle. Mina was helping by digging a moat for the castle. Izuku was shaking Bakugo using his quirk on the water. In terms of quirk from the 4 friends, his quirk was the strongest. Izuku was able to manipulate elements. When he was 4, he started with wind powers. It only took a year for the other 3 main elements to show up, but it was hard. He found out that he was able to use all 4 of them, but he had to unlock them. So now at age of 12, he was able to use 4 of them. At 4 wind, when he turned 6, he learned earth. At 9, he was able to use water, which next to wind was the easiest to get control of. Then only a week ago, he learned to control flames. That is like Todoroki on crack, Siro said, making Dabi and Natsu laugh out loud as they heard it. What I would never do drags, Shoto said, which nearly made Emmy, Toya. Do you prefer Toya or Dabi when I'm talking about him? And Natsu pee their pants. It was too much for them as Shoto was as serious as can be. At the moment, Izuku was only able to move flames. The first time he learned the flames was just after his birthday. He sat on the chair mad at the fact someone had been bullying Mina. You know, Izuku, that you can't punch other kids no matter what they do. Inko scolded Izuku without scolding him, but in they said Mina was weird. Izuku screamed as the flames under the large pot of potatoes exploded in size. It scared Inko as she fell backward on the ground, which made Izuku scared as he ran toward his mother, but with that, the flame died out. Oh, look at that sweetheart, so protective of his little girlfriend, Inko said as she embarrassed her son, who, much like Mina, was blushing like crazy. The girls were jealous, but were also happy to see how protective Izuku was of the people he loved. They had nearly never seen Izuku that angry, but whenever he was, it was about someone he cared about, and it made their hearts flutter. I can help you know, Izuku said to Mina, who was only halfway done. Of course, Deku wants to help his little girlfriend. Bakugo called out with a laugh, making Izuku shoot out a wave of water, hitting Bakugo all over, making him tip and sink in the water. "What did you say, combustion boy?" Izuku said as he forced a bit of seaweed on top of Bakugo's head as a seaweed crown. Huh. The guys who hanged around Bakugo? They were laughing there, but off. "Combustion boy, oh my god, that is perfect. I am so going to use that for the rest of my life," Zero said as he held his stomach in pain. "That should totally be your hero name. Fits perfectly," Kaminari said as he laid on the floor, wiping away tears. It now showed a 19-year-old Izuku with 1A on a beach. "Let's do a sandcastle team build. Girls versus boys versus Midoriya." Toru screamed, to which everyone agreed. The girls went to work right away, same as the boys. Izuku just wanted to sit in a chair and called out, "Give me a signal when there are 5 minutes left." This earned him 2 sandball, 1 from Bakugo and 1 from Mina. Both received a hole under their feet where they dropped in until they were only ahead. "Why is Izuku alone? That is kind of unfair," Momo said at the unjust actions of the class. "Don't you worry, you should really watch out for yourself if you're going against Izuku," Truth said, making them rather scared, seeing as it was a 6v1v13 and Truth was still giving the favor for Izuku. It was again filled with laughter as both Bakugo and Mina threw sandballs at Izuku, and Izuku dropped them in a hole, which they had to get out from with the help from their classmates. The sand was shot of Izuku, leaving not a single grain of sand on him. "You never learn," he said with a smile, as Kirishima was sneaking behind him with a bucket of sand, but it didn't fall, until he looked in the bucket himself, and it fell. "Too easy," Izuku said as everyone began laughing. It took a little while, but only 5 minutes were left. Izuku stood up and stretched. "Watch and learn, newbies." He stomped, and a full sandcastle around the same size as a full-on house came out of the ground. It took him an entire 3 minutes before he was done. It was by far the greatest sandcastle of the 3 of them. "What the dude?" Kaminari said, really round of their combined sandcastle, but this was something they would have never guessed. "It's massive. That's what she said." Izuku responded to Momo with a wink. "Holy hell," was the reaction of nearly everyone. For all of them, it was by far the biggest sandcastle they had ever seen in their lives. "That is as big as a full-own house," Ibris said. They stopped gawking as they started laughing at the "that's what she said" joke Izuku made. The laughing increased when Emi said, "Yes, we did." "All Might, look," Izuku said now in the UA gym. "What is it, young Midoriya?" he responded. Izuku started running OFA at full cowling, only his eyes started to glow. "Oh my word, what is this? I tried running my maximum of OFA all over my body and this happened. But it has a second effect." Look, Izuku used his typical earth-bending stance, which made a wall fly out the ground instead of his normal All Might-sized wall now. He was able to make a half the entire UA gym. Now he gets some power-up Oswell, what the hell? I mean, isn't be strong enough? Mineta said, being really disrespected at the fact he only has purple ball that are sticky, while Midoriya can make walls to defend a full house and beat the out of anyone he wants. While the others might not say it, they did agree to certain points. They really wanted to get something out of this Oswell. Maybe they could find out a power boost themselves from one of the future chapters. That sure is something. Does it also affect the other ones? "Yes, I think so," Izuku said as he tried pushing the doors open with a wind, but now the doors got shot of their hinges, even cracking the concrete surrounding the door. "Oops," Izuku said as he laughed with all might. "Young Midoriya, I might have an idea. How about you try and bend the hinges back into the correct form?" "But All Might, I can't. I can only bend earth." "Try it. Most metals have small pieces of earth in them, much like how you can control sand." Izuku first tried it with OFA and his normal bending to see if it was even possible. Much to his surprise, it was rather easy. "So if I can bend metal because of the factor of the earth being in it, does that mean I would be able to bend magma and BLD Oswell?" Izuku asked Truth, who nodded. "Correct, you nerd. Due to the earth and magma, you can bend it Oswell. Due to the water in BLD, you are also able to bend that. But that isn't all. By using both water and air bending, you can create ice. It's really badass to see in real life," Truth said. "Now let's get to watching a new one," Truth said with Izuku asking something to Nizu. "Nizu, sir, I have a question about back in our world." "Sure, young Midoriya, what is on your mind?" Well, I'm sure there is no law about it, but with AFO, I can take quirks, so what are the rules about taking quirks from villains to stop them, or to take the quirks from villains on death row? This marks the end of Part 8 of What If Harem Deku Watches Multiverse. A big thanks to Giovanni Polder for granting the permission to feature this amazing fanfiction. Please like the video and subscribe to Deca Universe for more interesting stories. Thank you, and see you soon.